Okay, the next stance that we're going to talk about is what's called horse riding stance. It's basically the Wuqi stance, only she's sitting down. She sits until the knees just cover the toes. The knees go in the direction of the toes. The back remains straight. And then everything else applies. The head is lifting, but in this stance, the weight is falling down and it's falling into the center of the foot. If she leans slightly forward, the weight shifts into the toes. That creates tension in the back. If she's laying back a little bit, leaning back, the energy moves to the front to try and hold her, and there creates tension. You want to, in your horse riding stance, feel the weight directly fall into the center. Okay? This is called horse riding stance, because you could see, and you always want to be able to bob up and down easily in any of the stances. Okay? So this is what's called horse stance. So we have Wuqi stance and horse stance. Now, so if you relax a minute. Now, the basic movement of Tai Chi is, if say Rose was my opponent and she's stepping ahead, is in Tai Chi we always are working about this distance to an opponent. We're always in some way or other touching them. Now, when she pressures inward, I sit back. You see? Now, you can see Rose is a little bit leaning. She's a little bit out of her center to try and push me. She doesn't have much more push. At this point, she's easily manipulated. Okay? So, she pushes, I'm back. I am in my strength. She's sort of out of her strength. Now, if I release her a little bit, then I can come out of my leg and push her away. I use the energy generated from my legs. Now, this is what's called Bowen sit stance, straight Bowen sit stance. As she comes in, I pressure into the back leg. Now, if I lean back at all, you see, she can easily overpower me. So when she comes back, the energy is going into what's called the qua, the hip joint, and the leg. Okay? And then when I move forward, it comes from this hip joint and moves outward. So let's practice this stance. So she takes, her feet are on the intersection, sinks the weight, shift to the left, open the right toe. So you want to put this on the intersection, open. Okay, then she's going to step forward the left foot. Now, if you notice, if you get coming back here, when she steps ahead, she steps so that the intersection is going to, the instep is going to hit at the intersection. The tendency is, if you come back, the tendency is when she steps ahead is to step like this, which happens to narrow her stance and make it too narrow. You see? And she's easily thrown off balance. So, when you're back here, you want to make sure that when you step ahead, you arrive at your intersection. Also, when you're stepping ahead, say if I was doing this myself, there's a tendency to fall like doing a natural walking step. We don't do that in Tai Chi. When she steps, the weight sinks into the foot that's holding her weight. Then, and only when she touches down with some part of the foot, will she then shift the weight forward. All of those things are very, very important. She moves ahead until the knee just covers the toe. The body faces straight ahead. The back is straight. This is called left foot bow stance. Left foot bow stance. She then shifts the weight straight back, sitting on this back leg. The front leg straightens out. This is called right foot sit stance. So Bowen sit stance, the practice is moving the body weight forward and backward straight. It's sort of like folding a pleat or an accordion. Forward and back, forward and back. Okay, so once again, Then for the practice, say she's done it around 10 times, shift the weight back, lift up the foot, and bring it back to the intersection, and then stand up. Okay, so this Bowen sit stance is very important. It's the sort of the most basic of all the Tai Chi movements, and you'll see it basically everywhere. For instance, like in just like we were just demonstrating in the Tai Chi form, push, say from press to push, right? Press to push, things like that. Just anytime. Then if I go into the next movement, single whip, I come straight back, turn, etc. Right? So this forward and backward motion is used quite frequently. Now the other way that we will move, let's say now Rose is again in facing me, and she's pushing me, right? Now, just as I explained, I was able to get out. But now what happens if, say, it's a longer opponent, somebody who's longer or stronger and taller, or she happens to step in a little bit. Now, when she starts to pressure in, okay, no, okay. So now I'm as far back as I possibly can be, and she still has more power. So she can still push. So what I need to do at this point then is as she's pushing, I turn. And her energy is what we call neutralized. It's neutralized off to the side. Okay? So this is what we call turning bow and sit stance. And you'll see it in, like in ward off, the first movement. Say if we could even, you see, we step, and then we turn as we move forward. Now I would say this is more common. You see, and I hear the next right push upward. We turn as we move forward. We turn always, okay? So that's turning, and you would practice it the same way. So once again, she's on the corner. She steps, lowers the weight, right? Turn out, stepping forward, and going forward. So in this case, as she comes back, she turns. The front leg straightens out. She's sitting on the back leg. The whole torso is turning. And again, turning as you go back. The tendency is to, one, come back and then turn, or turn and then go forward. Those are both errors. You want to turn as you're moving. Turn as you're sort of like having my own doll here, isn't it? This is nice. Turn as you move. Turn as you move. This is what's called turning bow and sit, right? And it's basically everywhere. All right? Very good. Thanks.